Funding platform AllBright is looking to provide a boost for female-led companies. Recently launched in the UK, the company plans on combining an angel network with crowdfunding to provide capital for female entrepreneurs. Bloomberg's Carolyn Hyde spoke with AllBright co-founder Debbie Waskow and asked why there's a need for a fund like this.
There is a huge global funding gap for women. So globally, only 10% of all capital invested is in a female-led business. And on the other side of the table, only 7% of people investing and 14% of angel investors are women. And so Anna Jones, the CEO of Hearst, and I have co-founded AllBright in order to address that funding gap.
How much is 10% out of kilter with, say, how many businesses are actually out there led by female entrepreneurs at the moment?
So a few stats on that. The first, which is really interesting, is that in the US, you're twice as likely as a woman, any woman, every woman, to found a business as you are in the UK. So something in the UK is particularly out of kilter. And when we've tried to do our research on why this is that women are not founding businesses at the same rate as men, it's a complicated problem to unpick. And the thinking behind AllBright is there are two parts to this. The first is access to capital, and that's why part one of AllBright is a fund, a traditional venture capital fund. But part two is a crowdfunding platform where you're able, as someone who's watching this show, for example, to invest individually and perhaps small sums of money in female-led businesses. And that's the way we think we're going to get the volume of investments made that need to be made to change the conversation. But the second part of the picture is it's partly about access to capital, but it's also about culture change. And when you talk to women about why they don't found businesses, lots of different pieces of feedback come back. It's about confidence. It's about coaching, mentoring, network. It's about appetite for risk. And so when we have addressed that need and developed the foundations for AllBright, it's about money, but it's also about the academy.
And this is something that is focused on UK female entrepreneurs, but how global in perspective is this fund, is this group of angel investors, is this crowdfunding as well?
Well, we started to focus on the UK first because we have a singular objective that's going to keep us busy to begin with, and that is how do we make the UK the best place in the world to be a female founder? How can we change those numbers? How can we create a different kind of environment? And so from the entrepreneur perspective, we're completely focused on UK businesses to start with. From the investor perspective, you can invest in the fund or in the angel crowd network wherever you're based. It is an EIS-driven fund. That means that there's a tax relief available to UK taxpayers or into people who own assets in the UK. And we've found that this has meant that there's a very global traction to this topic of investing in women. And I'll tell you why. It is about purpose, but it's also about profit. Women get 35% better returns than men, female-led businesses, even working off that small 10% sample size. So where we found real engagement is, yes, this is a purpose, mission-driven story. It's about create more female entrepreneurs, but it's also a very financial driven story. It's about get great returns on your investment.